Hey guys, so today we're going to play Everlasting Summer. This is a free-to-play game that I found on Steam, so I just thought I'd try it out and show everybody kind of how this game works. I haven't played it yet, so we're just going to kind of tab at it and see what happens, so we're just going to start a new game. I was having that dream once again. That dream. The same thing every night. But it's all forgotten in the morning as usual. Maybe it's for the best. Only the glimpse of memory will remain, of gates half opened as if inviting me somewhere, with two frozen stone pioneers standing close by. And also that strange girl, who keeps asking me, will you come with me? Come? But where? And why? And where am I anyway? Of course, if it all happened in real life, I would have certainly been scared. Well, what else would one expect to feel? But this is just a dream. The same one I see every night. There must be a reason. You don't have to know where or why to realize something is really happening. Something desperately seeking my attention. Since everything that surrounds me here is real, as real as the things in my own flat, I could open the gates, hear the hinges creak, brush the crumbling rust away with my hands, inhale the fresh cool air, and shiver from the cold. But I could do that. But to do that, I would need to pick myself up and take a step and move my hand. But this is a dream, I understand that. But what of it? What does my understanding change? Because here, it's just like the other side of the cracked screen of an old TV, which struggles to fight against the static noise as it strives to show its audience everything without missing a single detail. But the picture is getting blurry. I must be waking soon. Maybe I should ask her something. The girl. What's her name? About the stars, for instance. Why the stars, though? I'd rather ask about the gates. Yes, the gates. She would be so surprised. Or better, why dote over when I was called to the tittle, but every dot over J was called a superscript dot. Nice letters. As if they don't exist anymore. Still, what do letters, gates, and stars have anything to do with this place? Because even if I'm having this dream every night, which will be forgotten soon anyway, I've got to look for the answers here and now. And there, if you look carefully, you'll see the Magellanic clouds. And if I end up as if I ended up in the southern hemisphere. In a dream, there are small things that catch your attention. An unnatural color of the grass, impossible curves of the straight lines, or your own distorted reflection, while the real danger, which could put an end to everything right here and now, seems trivial. It's natural, since here you cannot die. I know it for sure. I've done it 100 times. But if you cannot die, what's the point in living? I should ask the girl. She's a local. She should know. Yes, exactly. I should ask her about the owl, for example. One strange bird it is, though it doesn't matter. Will you come with me? And every time I have to answer, it's the only way, otherwise the dream will never end and I will never wake up. Yes, I will come with you. No, I will stay here. Every time it's so hard to decide on an answer. Where I am, what am I doing here, and who is she? And why does so much of my life depend on this answer? Or maybe it doesn't. It's just a dream after all. Just a dream. The computer screen stared at me as if it was alive. Sometimes it really did seem to me that it was conscious of itself. It had its own thoughts and wishes, ambitious. It had its feelings. It could love and suffer. As if in our relationships the screen wasn't an instrument. It was me who was a lifeless piece of plastic and textile it. There is some truth in that, probably because the computer provided 90% of my communication with the outside world. Anonymous image boards, some chats from time to time, rarely ICQ or Jabber, and the forums even more rarely. People on the other end of the internet cable simply do not exist. Of all of them, there are simply creations of the sick imagination, an error in the source code, or a kernel bug which started living a life of its own. If one looked at my existence from the outside, such thoughts would seem crazy. A psychologist would surely give me a bunch of sophisticated diagnosis, and maybe write me a doctor's referral to the loony bin. A small apartment with no signs of repair or any resemblance of order in it, and always the same view out the window on the gray megalopolis running somewhere day and night. Such are the conditions of my life. Well, of course it didn't start like this. I was born, I went to school and finished it, just like the others. I was accepted at the university where I spent a year and a half trailing behind and struggling. I drifted through several jobs. Sometimes it was working out quite well. Sometimes I was even getting decent money for it. But it all felt like it was not mine, as if taken from another man's biography. I wasn't living life to its fullest. I was looping over and over in a monotonous circles. Just like in the movie Groundhog Day. It's just that I had no choice in how to spend my day, and every day repeated itself in the same vicious spiral. A spiral of emptiness, misery, and despair. For the last few years, I just sat in front of the screen all day. Sometimes there were menial jobs, sometimes my parents helped me, and all in all I was able to provide for myself. No wonder really, since my needs were quite minor. I hardly ever leave my home, and my communication with other people almost exclusively consists of online correspondence with the anonymous, who have no real name, no gender, no age. So in a brief and quite typical life of a quite typical antisocial person of his time, kind of like Donnie Darko on a minor scale without doomsday-related visions. Maybe some highly respected author will write a novel about me, and it will become a contemporary classic of modern literature, or I will write one myself. However, what's the point of fooling myself? I have tried many times, but I could not come up with even a simple short story. I tried to learn many other things as well. Not gifted enough to draw. Programming, got bored. Foreign languages takes too much time. And the only thing that I loved doing was reading. But still I never would call myself a scholar. Perhaps I was an ace at watching anime and a grandmaster of lame internet jokes. If I were to get paid for it, I would probably be a happier person, and a richer person too. But I doubt it would fill the hole inside of me. Today was another typical day of a typical failures typical life, and today is the day when I have to go to my university reunion. Frankly speaking, I don't really want to. What's the point? The time I spent with them was so short. However, I was persuaded by a friend, my former university mate, and one of the few whom I kept in touch with other than through the internet. A frosty evening, bus stop, waiting. I never liked winter, though hot summer was not my season either. It's just that I see no reason to point out any particular time of the year, and it doesn't matter much about the weather outside when you stay at home 24/7. The bus stop today was running late, and I was about to curse it all and spend my last few hundred rubles for a taxi, and just the idea of returning home didn't cross my mind for some reason. As usual, millions of thoughts flew through my mind, but there was not a single useful one to seize on. Just a thought that you could bring into existence, give shape, turn into an idea, and put into practice. Maybe I could start my own business, but where would I get the money from? Or maybe I could go back to working at an office. No, no way. Maybe I could try freelancing, but what skills do I have, and who would want me after all? And suddenly I remember my childhood, or rather my teen years, the time I spent when I was 15 to 17 years old. Why exactly those years? No idea. I guess it's because back then everything was much more simple, and it was easier to make decisions, so complicated now and simple then. Waking up in the morning, I knew exactly how my day was going to pass, and I always eagerly looked forward to the weekend. Then I could get some rest and have time for things that I liked: computer, football, going out with friends. And then at the beginning of next week, I'd take up my studies again. Back then, there's no such worrying questions like why, who needs it, what will it change if I do it, and what will not change. A simple lifestyle, so casual for any normal person, and so odd to myself today. That careless childhood age. It was then that I met my first love. Her appearance and her personality have vanished from my memory. Only her name remains, like a brief line from a social network profile, along with the feelings which overwhelmed me when I was with her. Affection, tenderness, and the desire to care for her and to protect her. Sadly, it didn't last long. Today I can hardly imagine something like that happening. I would probably like to meet a girl, but I don't know how to start a conversation and what on earth to discuss and how to attract her. Well, I haven't met any suitable girls for a long time, but where could I meet one anyway? The sound of an engine brought me back to reality. A bus pulled over. There was something abnormal about it, though, I thought. And then again, it didn't matter. Only the 410 runs this route. Streetlights pass me by, and it's as if their cold light sparks inside of me, trying to ignite feelings long dead. Or maybe not ignite, just awaken them. Because those feelings, they have been living in me for a long time, slumbering and waking up again. The driver's radio was playing some very familiar tune, but I wasn't listening to it. I was watching the cars passing through the fogged up window. Because people are always rushing somewhere, chasing something they need, stuck in their own little worlds, why would they care about mine? They probably have their own serious problems, or maybe they have much easier lives. You can't know for sure since all people are different, or are they? Sometimes someone's actions can easily be predicted, but if you try and look inside his soul, you can only see impenetrable darkness. The bus was approaching downtown, and my thoughts were interrupted by the bright city lights. Hundreds of billboards, thousands of cars, millions of people. I watched the light snow, and somehow I got terribly sleepy. My eyes closed for just a moment, and then bright daylight struck my eyes. At first I didn't pay attention as I wasn't fully awake yet. On their own, my legs carried me towards the door. Damn, it looks like I fell asleep and missed my stop, but there was no door. I looked around the bus and realized that it wasn't a good old worn out Liaz, but the bus was an Icarus model, a new one. I froze in shock. How? What? Am I dead? Have I been kidnapped? No, I must be dead. I patted myself down feverishly and slapped myself painfully in the face a few times. I banged my forehead on the back of one of the bus seats. It's clear, either I'm still alive, or you can still feel pain when you're dead. But how could this happen? Maybe I slept for too long and ended up at the bus depot. And then, what, did they put me on another bus? I rush out and look around. Greenery wherever I looked. Tall grass on the roadside, trees, flowers. Summer. But how? It was winter just a moment ago. My head was aching unbearably, as if it was going to explode. Slowly I began to remember. A long road running off into the distance. Forest, plains, fields, lakes, and forest again. I think I was sleeping, but how can I remember all of it? And then, a gap. Some girl leaning over me. She softly whispered something into my ear. Then a gap again. And then I woke up here. Who was that strange girl? Or was she just a dream? For some reason, thinking about her made me feel better and calmed me a little bit. I felt warmth all over, coming from the inside. Could it be her who brought me here? And then I need to find her. And the best place to look for her is away from here. I rushed to the left and then to the right, then stopped, hesitating over where to go. Finally, I ran from which the bus had probably came. Physical exercise does not refresh one's mind. Thoughts does refresh one's mind. Thoughts become clearer and a little easier to evaluate the surrounding reality. Not in my case, however. I was sitting on the roadside, wheezing and trying to ease my sore throat by gulping breaths of hot air. In any case, the run did its job. The fear withdrew for a little while. Or maybe I am just dreaming. Though recalling my self-harm on the bus, I immediately rejected the idea. I am neither dreaming nor dead. A narrow road ran through the field and far into the distance. That exact road from my dream. I must be very far away from home. And it's not just that it was winter yesterday. It's summer now. It's a whole new environment. Of course, summer is usually like this, green and hot, but here everything is not entirely lifelike. Everything looks like it was taken from the paintings of a Russian landscape artist in the 19th century. The grass is just too lush, and the bushes are not like what bushes should be. They're so thick that you can't see anything through them. Like treetops, honestly. And the trees themselves, the forest was quite far away, but the trees looked as if they had closed their ranks and were now just waiting for the order to advance onto the fields and plains. I caught my breath and looked at the bus, which was now barely visible. That was a good run. Fear overtook me once again. Those power lines. There must be people here. And what does it mean? In fact, it means nothing at all. Couldn't they have power lines even in hell? Roasting sinners over hot coals? That's so last century. They must have reached the point of no return, after which you should lose your mind completely or finally try to understand what is going on. And while I still have a choice, I should pick the second option. I slowly headed back to the bus. Of course it was scary, but I'm not likely to find the answer in the fields or in the woods, and this wretched bucket of bolts is the only kind of link that I have with the real world. I should carefully scout the area. A brick wall and its gates crowded with Soyonok sign. Statues of pioneers standing on either side, and the roadside nearby showing the bus route number 410. This trip is taking a bit long today. I smirked. A person may start acting inappropriately in extreme situations. Something like that is probably happening to me now. This place didn't look abandoned at all. No rust on the gates, no damage to the walls. Sovignac. What could have a name like that? Judging by the pioneer statues, it could be a kid's summer camp. Moreover, it appears to be open. Of course, the simplest explanation, logically speaking, explains nothing at all. The strange girl, the altered bus, summer, the pioneer camp. Thousands of theories went through my mind instantly, from alien abduction to lethargic sleep, from hallucination to a time and space shift. None was worse than any other, but there was really no way to pick a single one. It occurred to me to try and make a phone call. I took out my cell phone and dialed the first number from my contact list. But instead of the signal strength bars, the screen was showing a thick cross. Alright then, there is no signal in this remote area. Though I cannot be the only one who came here. Buses don't drive themselves. I examined the bus from all sides to make sure that it wasn't a hallucination. Bits of dirt on the bottom and some rust here and there, faded paint and worn out tires. No, this is definitely an ordinary Icarus. Yeah, exactly the kind of bus that would take you to places beyond your understanding if you carelessly fall asleep. I gave a nervous chuckle. It came out by itself, sporadically, because it wasn't the right place or time to laugh. But where on earth is the driver? I cautiously sat down on the curbside beside the bus and started to wait. My patience doesn't last long. My anxiety seems to have reached its peak, and I started to go slightly mad. In such a situation, anyone would probably have felt something similar. Aliens in parallel universes were gone from my imagination, leaving only void and darkness. Is this how everything will end? How my life will end? But I wanted to do so much. There were so many things that I have no time for yet. I was overwhelmed by the idea, and it was definitely the end. But why? It's not fair. Surely I'm no worse than anyone else. God, why? Tears were burning my eyes unbearably. I curled up and started rolling in the grass. Why? What did I do? Why me? But my cries were only heard by the speechless statues of the pioneers and the birds on the tree, who immediately flapped its wings and took off, crying out something in its own bird language, as if laughing at the idiot who dared to interrupt its after-dinner nap. I was left breathless from weeping and just lay quietly, sobbing occasionally. After a while I managed to pull myself together. My mind cleared up a bit, as if terror and fear of death gave me a little break. All in all, if someone wanted to kill me, what is all this for? It doesn't look like an experiment either. If it's just one of those crazy coincidences, then there's probably no threat. Anyway, for now it seems there's no danger. The panic is soon gone. Of course, the blood is still pounding in my temples and my hands are still shaking, but at least I can think clearly now. Right now, there is nothing I can really change anyway. No matter how much I think or how mad I get, it would only make things worse. Until some actual facts appear, there is really no point in making guesses. In any case, I won't learn anything by lounging about here. This camp, if of course it really is a camp, looked like it was one place where people could be, so I decided to go there, and I hardly had reached the gates when a girl came out from behind them, wearing a pioneer uniform. My logic doesn't let me down this time. Then again, a pioneer uniform from the 21st century. And then again, a girl here. I froze, unable to take a step. I felt very much like running away, running as far as I could from this place, far from this bus, gates, statues, and far from this bloody bird and its siesta. Just running, free like the wind, faster and faster, waving to the planets passing by, winking at the galaxies. Running, becoming a pulsar ray, turning into a vestigial radiation, running to face the unknown. No matter where, as long as it was far away from this place. Meanwhile, the girl came closer and smiled. I could not help but notice her beauty, even if I was trembling with fear. Human instincts work dependent of the consciousness, and while only 5% of the brain is responsible for cognitive processes, the remaining 95% are always busy sustaining life, and in particular ensuring stable functioning of the hormonal system. I desperately wanted to get less complicated, to stop thinking in formal quotes from an encyclopedia, though my thoughts appeared, one by one, being stupid, out of place, as if taken from an eternal monologue of the hero of some junky softcover crime fiction book. A pretty Slavic face, long braids that looked like 2 armfuls of fresh hay, bright blue eyes you could drown in. Hi, you must have just arrived? Reply, do not reply. Yeah. Alright then, welcome. She smiled broadly. Strange, it looked as if she was just a normal girl in front of me. Bah, I should have returned here. The woods and fields seem better. But what shall I do next? Try to speak with her as if she was human, or run away, or what? The blood was pumping unbearably in my head, tearing it apart from the inside. A little bit more, and the pioneer girl would be splattered with some gruesome contents of my skull. What's so funny about that? The girl looked me over. It sent shivers down my spine, and my knees started to tremble. Nothing. Great, then. Great. What's so great about that? Suddenly a thought crossed my mind. To hell with it. Forget about the bus behind me and the fact that it was winter yesterday and summer today. I wanted to rip off my itchy sweater and just accept that this was actually happening. Everything as it should be. All this is for the best. Would you happen to know... You should go to our camp leader. She'll tell you everything. Look. You go straight ahead into the square and turn left. You'll see several small cabins. She pointed to the gates as if she knew what was behind them. You can speak to someone named Ogla Dimitrieva's cabin is. Got it? Of course I didn't. Well, I've gotta go now. The girl waved her hand at me and disappeared through the gates. It seemed as if to her I was something ordinary. And all this show with the bus and the travels, while awake or asleep, were troubling only to me, while everything here was just the way it was supposed to be. Camp leader, pioneer uniform, what are they doing, a historical reenactment here? I hope I wouldn't find Lenin standing atop an armored car in this square, but even that wouldn't surprise me right now. After standing alone for a while, I headed into the camp. A mere 50 meters ahead, there was a small one-story house popped up on the left side. The sign near it said clubs. I was about to come closer when the girl suddenly opened and a girl wearing a short pioneer uniform came out. Her pretty face gave me an impression of one suffering for the fate of a whole mankind with a universal sorrow. As soon as she saw me, the girl froze, as if frightened. I froze too, considering that was the best to do. Approach first or wait until she showed me some initiative. Or maybe run away after all. I thought this last option was constantly being suggested only by my self-preservation instinct. At least that's what I like to believe. Not the worst human instinct, but far from the most logical. As if this instinct played poker against the deductible abilities, the outcome would be predetermined. All those deductive abilities, or at least their semblance, were hinting to me that there was no need to be afraid of this girl. Suddenly someone jumped out of the nearby bushes. A girl wearing a bright t-shirt with the USSR written on it. Such a perfect reproduction of the age. She looked quite short from a distance and was probably younger than both pioneer girls. At one of the gates, this girl at the door of the clubs. At last I decided to come closer, but the USSR, as I called her in my mind, jumped towards the first girl and started telling her something while wildly waving her arms. The other girl in turn seemed confused and lowered her gaze, remaining silent. I would have probably continued to observe their amusing dialogue, but the USSR suddenly pulled something out of her pocket and started waving it in front of the girl's face. That something turned out to be a grasshopper. Eeeeee! The first girl squealed. She must not be too keen on instincts, as she instinctively rushed off towards the place where Lenin presumably made his speech about the workers' and peasants' revolution. That is to say, towards the square. The USSR glanced at me, grinned playfully, and dashed after her. Not a bad start to the day. I have absolutely no clue where I am, and besides that, some kids here are role-playing as pioneers. As far as I can tell, this place is located thousands of kilometers away from my home. It might even be a different reality, and this was indeed a reality. I mean, everything around me seemed so real, even if a little embellished, that I was starting to think that the fact that my precious life could have been a dream. And what am I supposed to do now? I was picking at the cracked paving stones with my shoe and staring aimlessly at the club's building. Just a few more seconds before I have to come up with some decision, and that's when I recalled myself rolling on the grass, weeping. I cringed in disgust. Perhaps it was another instinct. When all energy for whimpering and self-pity is used up, the body either goes into hibernation or mobilizes its reserves. Mine seems to have chosen the second option, because out of the blue I found a determination to figure out what was going on. And in order to do that, I had to act like a man, like a human, to maintain the dignity and the representative of my own world. I followed the path to the left, and on the right of which stood small cabins, apparently the homes of the local pioneers. Actually, they looked quite cozy from the outside. Even though I was born in the Soviet Union, I had never been part of its children's organizations, whether the pioneers nor even the younger October children. I imagined the daily life of the typical pioneer camp a bit differently. Huge barracks with large rows of metal bunks, wake-up call at 6 o'clock, played by a siren, 1 minute to make your bed, and then joining a formation in the drill square. Or wait, could I be confusing that with something else? Suddenly something struck me on the back. I staggered but remained on my feet, turning around and preparing to fight heroically for my life. But all I found was another girl standing before me. My mouth hung open in surprise. "Pick your jaw up off the ground." I closed my mouth. The same pioneer uniform, but the way she was wearing it, it looked, let's say, provocative. Like all the girls I had met here before, this one was rather cute, but her overly arrogant expression killed any desire to get to know her better. "New here, are you?" "Fine, see ya." She threw a threatening glance at me and walked past. I waited for the pioneer girl to turn the corner. Who knows what else she might have been up to. The most interesting thing was that even this hostile girl seemed completely normal to me. She did not give off the feeling of some deadly danger, except maybe the danger of getting punched in the nose. At last I managed to make it to the square. There was no lean-in on an armored car, though one could easily expect something like that after all that had happened. Instead, however, a monument to a certain comrade in the middle of the square. The letters of the pedestal read Genda. It must be a big figure in the party. There were some small benches at the sides. It's quite pleasant here. Where did that girl tell me to go? To the left or to the right? To the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. Why am I going there anyway? Ah, right. I decided to pretend to be normal. So, to the right. Through a small grove. I came out at a pier. I must have taken a wrong turn. "Hey, wrong way!" I turned towards the voice. The first girl stood before me. "Now what did I tell you? Take a left at the square, wasn't it?" She had changed from her pioneer uniform into a bikini. "Oh, I still haven't introduced myself. My name is Slava." Actually, my full name is Slavana, but everybody calls me Slava. "So you can too." Yeah. I still feel a bit confused, so I could not come up with more meaningful answers. "So, what's your name?" I felt like she could see right through me. Yeah, I'm Simon. Nice to meet you, Simon. Alright, I'm almost done here. Could you wait a minute? I'm gonna go change, and then we'll go to Ogla Dmitrievan together. Agreed? Agreed. After this exchange, she ran off. I sat on the pier and let my feet hang into the water. I was wearing heavy winter boots, but in such weather there was nothing wrong with getting my feet wet. Furthermore, it let me cool myself off a little. Looking at the river, I was brainstorming and processing everything that had happened. As if this is some kind of conspiracy, a weird one, even too friendly at times. No, it really looks more like a random event, some entirely incomprehensible random event. Shall we go? Slava was standing before me, dressed in the pioneer uniform again. Let's go. I've been here for a very short time, but of all the people I've met, she looks the least suspicious. However, this fact is already suspicious itself. We walked into the square. The USSR girl and the girl who hit me on the back were there, chasing each other. Is that some kind of game they're playing? Ulyana, enough running. I'll tell everyone to Ugla Dmitrievan. Aye, aye, Captain. I decided not to question Slavia for a while about what was going on or the local residents. Better to meet this mysterious Ugla Dmitrievan first. Sounds like she's the boss here. We walked past rows of identical cabins, some of which looked like fat beer barrels, and others that looked more like household sheds. Finally, Slavia stopped in front of a smallish one-story cabin. It looked like an artist's painting, faded paint chipping here and there with age, but sparkling in the sun. The window shutter, slightly ajar, swaying almost unnoticeably in the wind, and huge lilac bushes were growing at its sides. It seemed as if this ramshackle hut was drowning in a storm of purple silk, and the lilacs, like some elemental force, were inexorably destroying the troop leader's house. What are you standing around for? Let's go. Slava snapped me out of my daydreaming. Stop teasing Lena already. Rena? It sounds like there's someone inside. Indeed, a moment later, the door swung open, and Ulyana ran out, dashing past the same mischievous grin. The pigtail girl came out next. Don't let it bother you, Lena. So her name is Lena. Gotta be thankful it's not Rena, at least. But I don't. Instead of finishing her sentence, she blushed and quickly headed towards the square. For some reason I felt like turning around and following her with my eyes, but Slava said, "Come." We entered the cabin. Inside looked somewhat similar to what I imagined. 2 beds, a table, a couple of chairs, a single carpet on the floor, and a wardrobe. Nothing special, but at the same time I felt homelike and cozy, though this room was almost in the same state of disorder as my own flat. The girl standing near the window appeared to be about 25 years old. Nature had obviously gifted her with a pretty face and a good body. At least one thing can keep you happy in this pandemonium. The locals are beautiful. You're finally here! Excellent! My name is Ugla Dmitrievna. I'm the camp leader. Nice to meet you, I'm Simeon. I decided to talk as if I wasn't surprised by anything that was going on. She came closer. We've been expecting you since early morning. You've been expecting me? Yes, of course. When does the next bus come? Why do you need it? Yeah, right, why would I need it? I guess I shouldn't ask direct questions. The people here may react to them quite unlike how I'd prefer. I doubt I'd get any answers. No reason, just curious. By the way, where are we exactly? Our mailing address, I mean? I wanted to send a letter to my parents and tell them I got here fine. For some reason I had the desperate idea that if I played along, I would find something else. Oh, but your parents just called half an hour ago. I sent their regards to you. Now that's a surprise. So, can I call them? Because I forgot to tell them something before I left. No. She gave me a sweet, spontaneous smile. Why not? You don't have a phone here. Then how could my parents make a call to here? I've just come back from the district central town. I talked to them there. Ah, so that's how it is. And can I somehow get to the town? No. She kept the same smile. Why not? Because the next bus only comes in a week. I decided not to inquire how the troop leader managed to get there and back. I would get no answer anyway. All this time, Slavia was standing next to me and seemed to find nothing odd in our conversation. Oh, we need to find a uniform for you. I've got absolutely no desire to put on pioneer shorts or wear a ridiculous red handkerchief. However, wearing winter clothes in the summer isn't the greatest idea either. Right. Thank you. I wonder if I'm the only one here who finds it strange that someone's wearing a coat and winter boots in such heat. Radio, I'll be off then, and you can get yourself acquainted with the camp. Don't forget to come to dinner in the evening. Having said that, she walked out of the cabin. No, walked isn't the right word. She rushed out. And I ended up alone with Slavia. I must go too. I've got things to do. Take a walk. Look around the camp a little bit. See you in the evening. As if there was no threat or catch to this reality, as embodied by Slavia, I've become more and more appealing. For the first time today, I realized that it's awfully hot here, though obviously my winter clothes are to blame for that. I took off my coat and dropped it onto the bed. My pullover followed it, and I was now wearing only the shirt. That's much better. All I could do now was follow their advice and look around the camp. I'll try to find something out in the meantime. Alright, so we're going to end that here. Not really sure what's going on right now, but I guess we'll figure it out later. If you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave them down below. And if you liked it, you can like and subscribe. And I hope that everybody has a nice day.